Okay, so let's start the whole structure, and that's really important. Let's look at the HTML. Okay, I'm going to go over all of that. I'm recording it. Please do go over with Brenda and Michael. What do we really have? On the very top, we just have the Django stuff. Then we have HTML, the header. It's a regular. There's nothing unique in the page unless we change it as we go along. Styles and all of that stuff we might want instead of document. That might be, and that's we can use Java, Django. We know how to do that. Is that right?
Yeah.
You know, with the title and all of that. Let's just for now we'll say advanced tips, but that's I leave to you. You know how to deal with that. That's not the important things. The key point is we have body empty. If you look the whole things, all of those stuff is just script. Okay, you have script, but there's nothing in the body. The body is totally empty. Everything is done with the JavaScript. That's cool. And it makes it work very fast. Now, where is the JavaScript objects exist? It's in this library. So the objects are in here, okay? And we activating those objects from this one JavaScript. So we activating it, we wrote AT null. In a second, we'll see how do we activate. That's why we just left it as a null. And here we really activated. The truth of the matter, we don't really have to. I don't think it's necessary even. I don't think so. But let me see, I can even leave it here. That's probably can be just written here. We don't really need that. I don't think we need that. Did I call it AT eventually or change the name? I think I changed the name even, ATM. So let's leave it even, okay? Let's leave it out, okay? So this one active, but this one we familiar with. This one we're familiar. This is we have everywhere in all our base files has that part of the script. This one is just to make sure that the JavaScript works correctly with secured line, okay? So this one we never need to touch. And this one goes with those two libraries. So those two libraries and this one, they always go together to allow us to have JavaScript, cookies, and all of that, so it will be secured connections. The second part is something we added. This function, it's activated when the page starts, okay? And inside it, so up to here, we don't really care about what it does, okay? We don't really care. The stuff, what did I do here? Oh, hold a second. Let me back up. Okay, let me back up. Sorry about that. Okay, so this function, it's being activated every time the page is loaded. When the page is loaded, it's finished loading, like all the HTML. But in our case, the HTML, it's loading very fast, okay? At the moment it's being loaded, then this function being called. That's the way it works. Now, what is inside the function? There are certain things we want to do here, and we put here a Django block. So if one day we want to extend this page, okay, all what we need to do is adding some code inside here if we need it to be working when the page is loaded. That's why we put that part here. Beside that, let's look at all of that stuff here. We have stuff that we kind of, the body, okay? So we want a variable in JavaScript reflecting the body of the HTML. So now having that one, we will use it to put stuff inside, okay? That's why we kind of make it one time. Secondly, okay, let me maybe even do it. Okay, secondly, we're creating an object called Advanced Tabs Manager, which we're going to talk about in a second. We're creating this manager and we're transferring some variables to it. One, we usually, when we create an object, this is an object in JavaScript, we'll talk about it in a second. I call it ATM. The variable is ATM. I transfer to it its name. Literally, it's like I'm giving it exactly his name. And therefore, I know who his name is, and later on I will be using it. Secondly, I'm transferring the object reflecting the body of the HTML. So that's the second part. And then many links we're going to use for transferring stuff to the view. Okay, so we will be using them, correct? Okay, now I'm going to do some stuff, revise it a little bit as we go along. Okay, so we have an object, and this object here is only, it's not defined, it's being created. So this is ATM equal new, it's really creating an object. Where is this one defined? It's defined inside this library. Okay, this is the structure of this page. Very simple. We have one big library in which we define many objects, one of which is the advanced tab managers, the definition and all the functionalities in the library. And here we're creating the object. As we create the objects, things happening. Okay, so far so good? Okay, that's clear. Is that right, Daniel?
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear.
Okay, very good. Now we go to really look at the library, this library. That's the important part, this library. Now, in this library, we always build up, our structure is usually always, we always will have a manager. It is like a tab manager. It's really making the menu, okay? And he's going to manage many tabs. So we'll have a manager with his all functionalities, and we have a tab which manages the tab itself. For example, as we will see here, those are tabs, okay? And the manager manages them. He will create them, but they will manage the internal stuff. But it will manage them, all of them. It will allow communication between them. It will allow activations, changes. The add tab, for example, to add a new tab, it's a function of the manager. Delete tab is the function of the manager. But when I click here, okay, it is really a click that the tab has to deal with. When I click on here, it's come from the tab itself. Here it's from the tab itself, etc. Okay? So we always divide that. So one thing we will extend in the future, that not only we have tabs, we might have also windows. Inside this tab, there will be certain windows that can open up. I click a button here, it will open a window that I can. When I move to another tab, there will be different windows. Okay? Similar to what we had in Academy City, the corporate valuation and the finance and the options trading, that we have many windows inside. So how are we going to, that's one. Second element we want to extend in this structure, when I click on Amos, I get this page. If I get this page, we'll see there's nothing, it's only HTML, part of HTML. When I go to SEO, it's another HTML. And when I click on SEO, that's what I will see. So the clicking, the name goes with the same name as the HTML. This is something we want to change. We want it to be different. I want to keep these in a database. Okay? That's what I would like to do. That would make much more sense. We'll need to know how to do it. That's not going to be that simple. By the way, that's what Django CMS tried to do in a sense. That's what really Django CMS is about. You'll have a part place and you can put a whole plugin, okay? And inside the plugin, you can put a lot of functionality that can help, okay? But many times it's not going to be that easy, even with the Django CMS. And you want to do something a little more sophisticated. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Second, in this page, when I'm getting to this page, I give an example. I would like to write a function and we will call it say var say hi. Okay? Sorry. Okay? And here we'll say alert. Hi. And now I would like to add, when I click on SEO, we know how to do that, is that right? On click equal to say hi, is that right? So what I will do that, now this is really like a whole program, this page. Now this is nice, I can run it, right?
Doctor,
I can run it.
doctor,
Yeah, that's what I want, like. I will run it. And when I click on the first SEO, it should say hi. Let's refresh. Let's go to SEO. I have an error here somehow. Yeah, I didn't put it in script. I should put this one in script. Okay. So that should go to SEO. I click on the first one. It doesn't like me. Why? On click, say hi event. Am I right?
yeah,
What was my mistake? What is my mistake? Did I screw up something here? Or maybe I
doctor, do we have to use maybe a var to define it then?
say again?
Like, do we have to use maybe a var to define a function?
Yeah, in here I have an error, don't I?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we just use the say hi without the variable, the var.
I think it should be fine too. I always forget. You can name it this way function, and I can call it this way too. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. That will work. Okay, that's it. That will be fine. Okay. No, it doesn't like me. Why? That's funny. Let me go to my stuff. What's the problem? Here we go. No. Nothing to can now. Where did I put it? We got to one of those. Yeah, here we go. I did it okay. I defined that's good. So why it doesn't like me? Script and script. Say hi. Say hi. All right?
Yeah.
So why it doesn't like me? Say it that way for a second. Doesn't make sense, but it should work that way here. Let's put it here. Maybe that's the reason. Yeah. Okay. So the click worked. Okay. But it really should work here too. I don't know why. I shouldn't be. That's funny. That should work. When I put it here, that's what I did on mine. That's why I put the include. That's why I did the include. Because when you do it this way, it doesn't take the JavaScript. That's what was the reason. All right, we're going to do something much more sophisticated, okay?
Yes.
We're going to do something much more sophisticated. And you'll see in a second. You'll see something very, very sophisticated. I was waiting a long time to do that. Because I would like to, the other way that you can do it is just really putting this page inside as an include. And I don't want to put it as an include, okay? So this is the way I want it to be. And it doesn't like it. I don't know why it doesn't like it. Because it doesn't, I don't know why. As an include, it will take it. You can make the holder as an include, and then you can put it inside. That could work, but I don't want to do it that way. I'll do it, we'll see. We'll do it better. So now it's supposed to work, but it's not really working. Because when you do view page, I don't see it here. Do you see it?
Not really.
Huh?
Nope. It's not there.
Correct. Yeah. If you do right click and inspect, you'll see it there. And here's the JavaScript. You see that? Only in the inspect is like it doesn't exist. But we're going to do something very sophisticated, okay? In a second. So two things we want to extend. One is to put functionality in every page, but we don't want to put the functionality inside the page itself. We also don't want to have pages. So how do we do that? Let's do stage number one. How do we put this one into a database? That's what we'll do. And second, how do we add functionality to the page? Okay? That would be really cool. So, and then we know how to interact. That would be really cool. So let's start with, first of all, describing the function that we have here before we continue. So every tab has its own HTML. And those HTMLs are right, those HTMLs right here. So every tab has to have its own, and we don't want to really to do it that way. We're going to put the data into a database in a minute. So the communication also with the server, okay, and all of that. So first of all, we have a manager. The manager, what the manager has, as we said, the manager receive his own name, the body of the HTML, the body of the HTML, and then several links to connect to the views, to collect data from the database or update the database, okay? That's one. And how is the manager structure is certain things very important. It keeps his own name, and then it keeps all those links. You see all those links. So we have a place for the links. I'll put even the body right there. A bit nicer. So the body is really right there. So he has a link inside to his name, to his body. Then we have all those links. And then he has things that he's going to use. Every tab, every tab every tab has a title. So all the titles will be linked to here. And every tab has the body. This is the content. The content will be here, and those are the titles. So we would like to keep a list of all those titles, and we want to keep a link to all those links. But we might even change that in a second. So we have the container and the titles, and we'll see the next things we do. Then next, we have a list of tab objects. So every object, every tab, every button here that we click on is an object, will be managed by an object. So every tab will have an object that manages it. So that's why we have an object called a tab. So far, so good?
Yeah.
And who is going to generate those tabs is will be it's going to be the manager. But as he is generating the buttons and the tabs, is going to keep every tab object in a dictionary. So there will be, in a second, we'll talk about the function that does it. So he is going to create the tabs and keep them in a tab. So if I have 4 tabs here, we'll have 4 tab objects. Each one of them will manage one of them. So far, so good. Now, we said the manager will have those 2 tabs, two buttons. Who is going to hold them? Those ones going to be managed by the manager himself, and he has a function to create them. We'll start with these 2. Then we have initial containers. What does it mean, containers? In fact, we're going to have a div holding the buttons, those buttons, and we'll have a div that hold the actual structure of the page of every tab. So we have 2 elements to create. One is the buttons place and one for the tabs. So that will be created here. So we'll create the buttons to do add. This is really create buttons. This is really the buttons for the add. Maybe we'll call them create. Let's go and look at that. Put this one, I think this one first, am I right? And what those ones do, that's really creating the add and the delete button. So how about we call this one create, add, delete buttons. Okay, let's make a better title for that. So that's the first thing that the objects does when we create the object. Okay, when we create the objects here, is calling the function inside it. So he's doing all of that stuff, gets to here, and then first things he does, he creates those two buttons. Then after create those two buttons, which we'll go over that in a second, the next things he creates two divs, one to hold the buttons for the tabs. For the tabs, there will be a div holding it, and there will be another div holding the other divs inside it. So if we do right click and we will do inspect, we can see that there is really, we have one div that hold the buttons and another div holding all the other divs. Okay, all the other divs, all those like four, there are four of them. They are being held inside the other div. Okay, there's four divs and there's a div that's holding them. That's the container and holding each div for every tab. And inside this div, we have all the buttons. Okay, so to create those two divs, that's what we do here. So this is a div that holds the buttons. This is the div that holds the divs, which is the content of every tab. So that's the second function. Then we have set tabs. Does the hard work. This is really what does the work. What does this one do? It's very elegant. What it really does is creating tabs. And as it creates tabs, they save them in the tabs dictionary. So let's look at that one, the third one. And then we'll go back again. It's very, very elegant. Why is it very elegant? We have the data in a database, and that's the way we connect to a database. We know that already. The reason we cannot put the link right here is because this is a JavaScript library, and Jinja will not work on it. When we're doing this way, and the library is here, it's not going inside and changing the Jinja. That's why we have to use it here. So we use it here. Okay, we have all those links, get tabs from table links. So that's why we have to put it here. Jinja will work on this one and turn it to be the link to the function in which we can pull the data from the table. And that's why we're putting it here. That goes to the variable here, to here. And when it goes to here, it goes as a variable inside this object. When it's inside this object, I can use it in any function. This does that. This is really the link to the view. You got it. Is that right, Daniel? Now it's very elegant. We need to see how does it work in the dictionary, in the view. So let's go and open the view. Let's go open the view. And where is that function? By the way, there's a function here, I just discovered it, called folding and collapse all. I like that a lot. So now I would like to organize our function separately, and I will explain why I want to do that. Let's start from the first one, and I'm going to do a change here too. Start putting them in the end for now, and then I will add more and more. So what this function does really, it's a very simple function. All what it does, it goes to the table, data types, which is defined in the models, defined in the model. And in the model, we have tab name and the text. That's what we had originally, is that right? By the way, we
Yes,
don't
sir.
really need the text now. It looks like we don't need, we will in a second. Okay? You will see why. We'll keep it for now. And we're pulling the data from here. We're pulling the data from here. We, we're pulling all the records, and then we make a dictionary. We run a tab, we run over all the rows, and we're filling it up by the ID. We put the ID in the dictionary, we put the name of the tab, and we put the text. For now, the truth of the matter, we're not really using the text. You used to use the text, remember? When the tab had a text part, but we're not using a text, but we're going to use the text for something else in a second. Okay, so I'm going to keep it for now, and we're going to modify this table in a second, the structure of the table. So this function, all what it really does is just pulling the rows from the table. We're getting that dictionary, the ID as the key, and then the tab name and the tab text. So we're running over. Now we're getting the dictionary. So we're getting ID in the dictionary, which is really the key. And this is the tricky part. The tricky part is we are creating a tab object for every row in the database. And in a second, we'll talk about the structure of the tab. But we're creating, as we can see, new tab. This is creating an object. It takes all those parameters. We'll talk about them in a second. And after we create the object, it keeps that in a dictionary. This is a dictionary. How do I know? This dictionary, tabs, is defined in the manager. Hey, but how do I get to this one here? That's the hard part. By the way, so you notice this function belongs to the manager. That's the hard part. It belongs to the manager. The manager itself, the word this could be used inside the function. This means the manager. Like here, when you use this, that, something, it's really taking it from the manager. This one is really defined right in the manager, right here. Defined right here. But the problem is in the part when we do a post and we're getting a data from the databases in the way of dictionary, we cannot use this is not recognized inside this function. Therefore, we must use the bind. The bind, we can transfer to the function a variable that's known inside the function, inside another function. So I'm transferring this refers to the manager, and I'm transferring it into the function by a new name called at ATM underscore. So inside this function, the manager known as ATM, Advanced Tab Manager underscore. So when I'm transferring, this is the manager, and pay attention, the manager, what the manager has. The manager has a variable called tabs. These dot tabs, it's really the manager dot tabs. And I want to keep every object of a tab inside that dictionary. So when I'm creating a new tab, I want it to be known and kept inside this dictionary. So this dictionary will have the ID, which is the number in the database, in the index, and I'm creating an object, and that object will be kept in that dictionary. That's pretty sophisticated. See how elegant and beautiful it is. What happened with this one created, and we'll come back to that in a second. But this is very important function. This is the beauty of the whole structure is generating for every new tab, it's generating an object called tab to manage that tab. Okay, now let's go back and let's say what the other ones. This is the delete tab. We'll get back to those one in a minute, but this is the most important one. And I will repeat that one. Okay, let me go back, and then we'll get back to that stuff. Let me go back to the making those buttons, the simple ones. Start from scratch. The first things we said, before we're creating the tabs, we're already creating two buttons and we're creating two containers. So let's see how we create those two buttons. How do we create those two buttons? That's very simple. That we already know how to do. It looks like complex, but it really isn't. We know how to use JavaScript to create a button. We know how to add the title to put on the button. Is that right? And then we want to add to that a function, click. There's one method we learned. We could have used that on click equal, or another way, we can use what is known as an add event listener. So to this button, add button, we can add a listener, which is really adding a function on click. And which function am I adding to it? I'm adding to it this function. This is the function. When I click on that button, that's the function that will be activated. So therefore, I can add really event. By the way, I can add event two ways. I can add it here. I can add it here. It will recognize it as well. I can do it that way as one event. That's a special function, object that it knows how to get it. Can get it from here and can get it from here. Let's do it. I think I usually like to do it this way. It will work either way. Okay. Now, what do I do when I click on add? What do I want to really do? What I really want to do when I click on the add, I want to add a row in the database. Is that right? And create the tab. We want to create the button here with that name, and I want to create the content, correct? So that's what it's supposed to do. So I click on it, and that's what it's going to do, all that stuff. So what's happening? First things it does is prompt the user to enter a name for a new tab. I keep the name here. If the person did enter, it will allow me. Otherwise, it would say you have to enter that, it will return me. So that's another thing. After I do that, after I enter the name of the tab, I send that I connect to the link to go to the view that knows how to add a row inside the table. But where is that link exist? We're keeping all the links in the links add link. You see that? Add link. It is basically in, where is it? Here we go. It's in the dictionary. It's in the manager. But hold a second. Inside this function, I cannot use the manager because although these functions belongs to the manager, it doesn't know inside another function, it doesn't know who is the manager. And that becomes to be a little hard. So we do the same trick. We use the bind and we call it ATM underscore equal this. So ATM inside this function, it is the this outside. So if here I can use these to refer to the manager. Inside, I can only use ATM. That's why I transferred it to the internal function. So here I have ATM underscore add links. It knows what it is. I'm calling it, transfer to it the name that the person has entered, And then after it get back, I will get the number of the row inside the table. That's something you know already. Is that right? You have done that.
Yeah.
And now when I get a new row, what do I want to do? I want to make a new tab. And I want this tab to manage the whole things. So this line looks familiar to us, isn't it? This line, it's very similar to the line we just saw in the set tabs. Here, we're calling all the rows in the database, and we're creating one tab for each one in the database that already exists. But when we're adding a tab, stage number one, we're adding a row into a database. We're adding a row into a database. We're getting back the ID of the new row, and then we want to create a new tab. And that's the way we create a new tab. And we keep that new tab inside the dictionary tabs that belongs to the manager by its ID. Then, as we create, we want to make it the active one. So we just click on the button. But this is beautiful. ATM. Okay, there's something really hard here. This is really one of the hardest. Can get you really confused. Very, very confused. So let's go slowly, because this is hard. Took me a long time until I figured it out in a good way. We have a this here means the manager. And we said that inside this function, we don't know what the manager is. This. Therefore, we use a bind and we transfer this as ATM underscore with the bind. Now, when we using the post, again, in the post, we don't even know what ATM is. If here I know what ATM is, inside this function, I don't know. I don't know what is this, and I don't know what is ATM underscore. So I have to transfer to it also. If I want to use the manager, I'm transferring the manager that was transferred to the internal function again, and I use a little different name, ATM without the underscore. And I'm transferring ATM underscore, which is known inside this function. I'm transferring it to this function again, but under different name, ATM. And that's why I use ATM here. This is a manager. And the manager has these tabs, which holding the objects of the tabs. And then after I create the tab, I click on it because the tab will create to himself a button. We'll see in a second. And I click on it, it will make it the active one. That's pretty cool. That's a very sophisticated way. Okay? So this is basically giving me a mechanism to this button. When I click on it, it knows how to create a tab and make it the active one. Okay? Some things with the delete. Delete is very similar. We create a button, we create a click, and on the click, again, we're asking the name, blah, blah, blah. This time we use delete link, and we're transferring a name. And after we transfer a name, we receive the ID, and we just call ATM delete tab. Again, the same trick, the bind here and the bind here, just for the same reason, okay? And then eventually here, what do I do here? Element body, append. This one, all what it does really is appending. I'm creating two buttons and I'm appending them to the body, meaning is adding them. This is the first two things that being created, it's added to the body. So far, so good?
Yeah, Doc, I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, on that part for the add BTN.
Which one?
Up the add BTN. The part for creating add BTN. Yeah, that. So on that part for the new tab.
This one?
No, just at the top.
This one?
The top one. The add BTN. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Okay.
So that part for the new tab for that function inside the post, the function inside the post.
So this button, I created a button, I gave it an event. So far, so good. That's all what I did here. Here, I did another button and gave it an event. Now, they really don't exist yet on the body. And this one is adding those two to the body.
Yeah, that's fine, Doctor. I
But they
understood there
don't,
very
they
well.
are not in the container or the titles. The titles is designed for the other buttons and the contents of each one of them. Got it?
Yeah,
This
but
one is just sitting
there's
on the top there.
there's that just one thing that is confusing me, Doctor. That part for the new tab where you were equating the ID of
This
the
one I
tab.
didn't explain yet. We'll get back to that. We'll go over that
Okay.
again. Don't worry.
Okay.
This one I didn't really got it. This one, it's supposed to take care of creating everything for each one of the tabs. We'll get to that. That's a little hard. Ignore this line for a second. Okay, we'll get
Okay.
back to that. Okay.
Fine.
Now, and then we have two buttons. Okay, those two buttons, we add them to the body. So basically, we're creating two buttons. Each one of them has a click. Each one of them goes to the database. I'm going to combine those two functions together in a second. You'll see. I'm going to do something more sophisticated. And okay, so we have the tab. We understood the add buttons. And now add containers, we already know. You know that very well. Is that right?
Yeah.
Simple. So let's go into the important one, the most elegant, the most important function. So let's leave that one. We have that. Let's go back to this one again. What's happening here? That's the important. Okay. I'm getting a record from the database. I get the ID. I have the tab name and the truth of the matter. I have a text there, but I'm not using the text. I don't need it. I'm transferring these. What does it mean, these here? This here is meant to the manager. Is that right?
Yes.
And here I'm transferring the name of the tab. And here the index of the tab. And now let's look at the tab object. And the tab object is quite nice. It takes the parents. Parents is who owns them. Who owns this guy? Is the manager. Is that right? Okay. My name is really the tab name. Correct? I'm
Yes.
transferring the tab name. My name is the tab name. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm transferring the tab name. And then I'm transferring the ID of the database, the row in the database. So I'm keeping those three here. And then I have a button, which is empty. I have a content, which is empty. And I have a function. Only one function. And let's see what this function does. So when I run this line, what's really happening? Let's see what's happening. This being called, so it's running, doing all of that, and then it's calling this function. This in this case belongs to the tab. This is tab, is not the manager. This parent is the manager. So far, so good?
Yeah. So good.
Very important. Okay. So now let's go into the real function. This is who does the whole work. This one does the work for the tab. What do we want to do in the tab? Each tab has to create its own button and has to create its own div, correct? So let's see. So the tab himself is in charge now of doing it. So what he does is creating a button for himself. You see that? He's
Yeah.
putting in the bottom attribute tab ID. All of that familiar to you. Is giving the name. You see the tab name in here. That's really as he called it here. call that tab name. You see that? So it's putting it
Yes.
inside here. All of that nice. And now we need to add a click. Is that right? So the button, we're adding him, giving it a function click. That's the second method of how to add a click. Is that right? One was add event listener, and this way it's just that on click equal to the function. Okay? So now we want, when we click on this button, what do we want to do? It's going to do something. It's going to show me the content. Is that right? So we'll get to
Yeah.
it and change that this one to be the active instead of when I click on that, it makes that one to be the active. Okay? We'll get back to that. So let's leave the function for now. Step number one is creating a button and give it a click. Second things, then he clicks on that. Let's leave those two. Sorry. Okay, so what it really does when I create it, when I create the button, and we'll say in a minute, we'll talk about what does it do. I want to click on it as it's created. I make it the active. And in addition, and that's the beautiful part, I'm taking this button that I created for this tab, and I'm adding it to the list, okay, of the parent titles. Okay, let's look at the parents. Does it have titles? Yeah. Why did I do that? Why is that one? I don't think I need it. I think that's left from before. Control F. One. Titles. Yeah. I have the div. Remember that I have a div?
Yes.
And the div titles is being created here. Is that right? So here it's defined as null. It's empty. When I run this function creating the titles to be as, why is it? It's creating it as a div. Is that right? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So when the tab creates a button, this one creating a button and giving all of that stuff, the button has to be shown inside the div of what the button's supposed to be. And it's being managed inside the titles. What is the titles? The titles is really a div. Is that right? So
Yes.
and it's the div, it's linked to the parents. The parents is holding that div. And therefore I'm adding it as a parent child. I'm appending the button inside the parent's div. The parent is really holding the div. Now, if you notice, I don't really need to use ID anymore. You got it?
Yeah.
So that's the beauty, okay? Because the parents is holding all the buttons, okay? And it's inside a div, okay? After I put the button inside, so it's gonna show it's here, right here, okay? And if I click on it, sorry. When I click on it, when I do click, it's gonna show the content, okay? By the way, it doesn't really matter if I put it here or under that. The active make it looks active. When I putting it inside, it put it inside the div. Okay. The next things is creating a content. This time, this content, it's the content of the tab. You got it?
Yeah.
And again, I'm putting a tab ID. I'm not sure that I need it here, but I leave it. And I have the class, and then I'm adding it to the parents container. The parent container is a div holding all the div of this specific tab. Got it?
Yes.
And then becomes to be easy again. Then I have, what am I going to do now? Now that I have this one, what am I going to do? What am I doing here? Yes. Now I want to bring the HTML of that page and put it inside the content. See, I have the content of this page in here. It's a div, is that right? This is a div. It's a div of that specific tab. But inside that div, I want to put the content that belongs to the HTML that belongs to that tab. And that's what this one does. So I'm calling again a function called URL get screen links. So let's go and look at that. And by the way, do you see that we're going these dot parents? It does know what this here. Inside this doesn't know. Okay, but when it can, in a minute we'll see. This one, by the way, this function, it's really getting where is it? Where is it? Here we go. So let me take this function as well, put it in here. We'll get back to those ones too. And delete and add. And then we'll see. I don't know what those ones are. Okay. But let's see what this one does. This one's very simple. It gets the name of the tab and it pulled the right. See what I did here is a little trick. I am sending the HTML, but which HTML I'm sending? Based on the name of the tab. You got it?
Yeah.
That's a nice trick to do that. We're going to change it. We're going to put it in the database. Okay?
Yes.
We'll try it in a second. Okay? So that would be really nice if we can do that. So that's the way it works. So that's one thing. And that's the way really the whole thing works. It really works beautiful. So this one, the objective of this one is to pull one more thing. Is another trick you can use in here. When you use the post, it doesn't know this inside this function. It doesn't know what this is. So what I did is I said, var this m equal to this. So this becomes to be a variable inside this environment. I have no idea why it cannot recognize this, but it does recognize this. Probably this is just jQuery that this defined differently for jQuery. So I have to give it a different name. So when I do that, I can use it inside. And then this, that element, this is really the tab itself, the content, which is the div that we created here. I put the content inside it, and that works. So this is a little hard. It's not really that easy, but that's architecture is beautiful. Now, you know, everything's where it's supposed to be. Now we're going to do a little improvement before we continue, okay? Remember, we have two functions. I'm going to improve the links. I'm going to do something a little more sophisticated. I'm going to go into the view, stage number 1 of improvement. So that's stage number that I hope it's clear, okay? And I'm going to move to the next step. Okay, you want me to do a new version? I'll make version 5. Let me copy it. So you'll have all those versions. That's hard stuff. It's not easy stuff. And I call it number 5. Okay? And I just change it here to be number 5. So I will work with it. Okay? And I'm going to change it. So I'm going to do some improvement. First of all, I'm going to go to the view. I'm going to make a new function. div activate function. Okay, let's call it activate function. Okay, we'll get to that and I will explain what I'm going to do. I'm going to put here request and I'm going to put a dic, which will be a dictionary. It's going to be very sophisticated. Let's go back to, no, I don't want to put the dic here. I'll put it different place. Dic equal to, I never remember exactly how I do it, but I'll fix it in a second. And let's call it a dic. Okay? In a second, we'll get to that. Then I'm gonna do something else. I'm going to write S equal to, and I'm gonna call another things. Fun, like function. And I'm call it's fun. Any minutes, don't worry, everything will be clear. And here I'm gonna do the following. I really would like to turn it to objects even. That would be even better. Make a class inside. Yeah, let me do a class as well. Let's do a division here. Class. Let's call this class advanced tapes. Okay. Call that object. And we will have it here. And we'll have div in it. And we'll do pass for now. Okay? For now, we'll do pass. So far, so good?
Yeah, so good.
And I'm going to add another things here. I'm going to call it object. This is how. Okay? This is object, so I have an object. I have a function and I have a dic. Those three things. Now I'm going to write the following. I'm going to write object plus dot plus fun plus dic, and that's it. Now let's print it. Print S, and then we will I'm gonna do the following. Let's put this one dic underscore, and that will be dic underscore. And we're going to have eventually eval S equal dic equal. Okay, we'll get back to that. And then we're going to return a JSON. We had some more JSON, didn't we? Yeah, here we go. Let's call it result. And let's put here result to be equal to result. Okay, whatever comes back, let's put it here, okay. For now, just for now, and that's what go back. So what are we doing here? We need to send object, function, and dictionary. I'll call the function activate function. And I'm going to take this one. A second. And call it from JavaScript. But this function will get three variables: a dictionary, a function, and an object. I'll build up a string that kind of calling that function that belongs to this object. It will return a value, and that's if I will do the work, and that returning will come into here, and I will return back to the function that's calling it. So let's do it. And then you'll see why I'm doing it, okay? So let's go back to our, where's number 5? Okay. Let's cheat a little bit, okay? Let's play games a little bit. Let's go back to create this one. Let's make one more button. Fair enough? We have 2 buttons, 3 buttons. We'll make 3 buttons and then I will delete it just for testing for now, okay? So let's do one more things before that. Where's all the links? I will add a link to here in the end. You will see why I'm doing all of that, okay, in a second. That's the name of the function, am I right? That's what we did, correct? But we have one more place to edit. We need to add it to the URL, don't we? So we will just copy one more. Go to here. I'm just adding one more function. I think you know that stuff, don't you? That's simple, is that right?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. So I'm going to add this one to here. And now this function exists already. Takes me to here. Now when I come to here, I'll print this one so I make sure that I got everything right. But I want to call it from somewhere. So I want to call it from, let's make another button just for fun. And then we delete it. In fact, we'll delete other things. We'll see in a second. And how about we will call it, how do we want to call it? How about just BTN? So far, so good. We'll call it test. So we have the buttons, enter, a tab, we don't need it. Correct, we don't need it. And what do we want to do now? We want to transfer here three things. Object, is that right?
Yes.
And let's call this object by the name of the class we created in here. We created a class, didn't we? Advanced tabs, is that right?
Yeah.
So we'll call it advanced tab. I hope I'm not losing you. This is hard stuff. What else do I want to transfer? I want to transfer function. But this one, it's a little very tricky. Let's call it add button. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Now, but this is supposed to be a function. Function of whom? Of the object, which we haven't added yet. Is that right? It's right here. So we can add another function here, div, and the name of that will be this one, correct? Just for the beginning, for testing purposes, we will write print add tab. Fair enough? So if we activate this function, hey, why it doesn't like me? Yeah, okay. And we will do return. And usually we would like to return a dictionary. We can write whatever, whatever we want, okay? We'll write A, B, C equal, whatever result is. And in a second, we'll see, we'll do a lot of beautiful stuff. 1, 2, 3, okay? So we return a dictionary. Why is it important? We're returning a dictionary, you notice? So I'm calling the function of add button. That's exactly what we have here. See, when I have the object name that the functions, I'm transferred to it the dictionary, and it's going to return a result. The result is a dictionary. Okay, and that dictionary I'm returning back to JSON. Okay, so let's see how that works. First, one more thing we need to transfer. It's a dictionary. And one thing in the function we want to add to allow it so it's always will, you can ignore it, okay? I will transfer to it a dictionary because that might be input. You can ignore it. I don't really have to use it, but if I need it, I can transfer to it a dictionary. And in the dictionary, we'll have some parameters. You might get some parameters to do some stuff. Okay, so that's basically the structure. Let's see how that works. But which kind of dictionary I want to transfer to it, that depends on what I want to do. So I'm going to add another things here, dic, which is expecting as a variable. So we have a function, we have a dictionary. So let's just put this one here. By the way, this is a little tricky, very tricky, in fact. You have to use what it called JSON stringifier. Looks so complex and so confusing. Where's mine? Here we go. Here we go. I'll show you in a second. Here we go. See, I'm very similar to this function that I just did here, okay? But you will need to use JSON stringifier, otherwise you will not take it as a string. I will explain in a second. Let's define the dictionary even outside. Oh, it doesn't matter really. I will define it here, okay? Dic underscore equal. And here I will use this one, dic underscore. And this one I can just write here, Amos. And this is a dictionary, yes? I'll write 50, just a number. So this is a dictionary, you agree? I'm going to transfer a variable called Amos.
Yeah.
And the value is 50. So I want to transfer it to this function, really, the add. Why do we have add link? No, we don't want add link. We wanted the new name. What was the new name? How did I call that one? Right here. Here we go. Is that right? That will take me to this function. So I must go back to here and put this one back. Control V equal Control V. And here we will do the same things. This dot Control V equal Control V. Okay, so we have another function, activate functions link. And that one we want for the third button that we're making. So that will be the function. I want to leave it the same things consistently. So we'll do underscore here as well. Fair enough? So we have a button. We're transferring those three variables. But to transfer a dictionary, you must stringify. The first time I saw it, I thought it's crazy. I didn't really have no clue what does it do. It has to be a string. It cannot be a dictionary. So this is a dictionary in JavaScript. You cannot transfer a dictionary inside as a variable. This is himself as a dictionary. You cannot take a dictionary inside. So you have to turn it into a string. So it takes the dictionary and makes it as a string. That's all what it does. Okay? You will see we'll have to reverse it back many times in other places. You will see it again. We'll get to that in a second. Okay. Now that we have done that, we can send it. It will send it and it will give us some result. We'll get this one. So I'm gonna move all of that one. I don't really care. The only things that I need, I don't really need that one either for now. I just want to write here alert. And by the way, well, I have done it here. Yeah, I'll do it this, but see, this is slightly different. When you get a dictionary back and you want to see it, you will use JSON.stringify. Yeah, it's the same things. In fact, I'm noticing now. Okay, you get a dictionary, you turn it to a string, and then you can see it. Otherwise, it will show you object. So this is where we can see really the result. This is basically it. I don't really need that one for now. All right. So let's see what's happening here. We got the button. You got a button. The button, we had a function. So this is all right. I don't need that one. We will add this button also to here. You will see in a minute, it looks like crazy what I'm doing, but in a second, everything will make sense. So we'll have 3 buttons. The third button is a little crazy one. It says test on it. We're adding an event, okay? And I don't really need that one either. I don't need that one. I thought that I deleted it. Then I made some dictionary, is that right? And then, here we go. So what that one's supposed to go, yeah, very good. So I have that one, and then here I'm making a dictionary inside. Put it this way. Let's take the whole things here. Okay. So we have a dictionary, and we transferring that dictionary and those 2 things, add button and advanced tabs. We're transferring it to this function. This function is supposed to do something and get us result in a way of dictionary. So let's see what happened, okay? I'll go step by step and let's see what happened. You will see in a minute why I did it. I have an error, of course. Why do I have an error? I have an error here. I knew that I have an error. Yeah. So the error is here. Control V. So we know this is fine. This is fine. The problem is here. Add listeners. So the add listeners is like this one, right? Right? That should be okay. Am I right, Daniel?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, it doesn't like me. Why? What am I doing wrong? Yep. I missed the circle here. That's right. That's what was missing. And what is this one? What this one goes with? This is the top part. How come? Something doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make any sense for me. Why is this one going?
Doctor, I think that should go away. That restaurant.
This is the outside, isn't it?
Yeah.
This should
Yeah.
go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, I tried it. This one should be like here, is that right?
Yes.
And this one goes, no, this one goes to this. This is okay. This is good. Okay. And this just goes here. I can put back the bottom. Huh? Doesn't like us. It's about we do that. Do you say? Okay. We have a test and it should say alert one. Okay, good. So far, at least we got that one. Now let's see what the problem here. We have a dictionary. Let's see, ATM. No, we don't need ATM, do we? Yeah, we do, I guess. And ATM. So it does need ATM. Okay, we do need that. Okay, let's copy it. I thought we don't need that. Why do we need the ATM?
Oh.
And here, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
ATM. Yes, an ATM will go here. That's why. Okay, let's try that now. Oh, yeah, that's likely. But ATM equal to this, that's fine. And what's the point? This one we did. Let's take this one, control copy, alert, control V.
Doctor, does it matter maybe to define that dictionary as a variable? Like maybe say var then dic underscore.
How does it get? What? If I take that one, that should be okay, shouldn't be? Let's see in a second. I think this is okay now. You're saying this is a problem? Do it.
Yeah, maybe put the var there. Yeah.
No, the var one shouldn't make a difference. If I don't put the var, it will make it as a global variable, but it won't hurt the functionality. Okay, yeah, this is working. Good. So now let's see what's the problem with this. Post ATM, this is fine. Then we have object, this is fine. This one is fine. Dict, it's fine. It's returning. Let's put here. Let's call it data. Let's call that one a data, and I think I found the error. It's missing one more. Like this. This should. Yeah, that was the error. Okay. Let's do it again. That's what it is, exciting things. And there, okay, that one, and go, let's see what happened. Okay, we got an error, of course. Why it doesn't like us? Here we go. First of all, we do get this string here. You see that?
Yeah.
In the viewer. So we are getting to the view. This looks like the right things. We have, we don't know what advanced tapes is. Yeah, it makes sense. We didn't really create it. So what we really need to do is we can make it as a static function, otherwise you will not know what to. Add button. Now, and I think we need to do, it's like this. That's what take it. Let's try that again. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it works. Beautiful. See how cool it is. See, what we did here, look at this command. See this command?
Yes.
This command is advanced tabs dot add buttons, and it's sending him a dictionary. You got it?
Yeah.
The dictionary, it really is what comes in from here. In a second, we'll play with it. It says add tabs. Who printed this one? So we're getting the string, okay? And then it's calling it. You got it? The eval is calling this one. That means it's calling this function with this dictionary. So it's going to here, and it goes to the object. You got it? And it's really putting a tab. You see that?
Yeah.
You can do that one too. Print div. That would be really cool, isn't it? And let's just make sure we'll do here print. Then you understand how powerful it is, really. So we know that this is really there, right there. So we know that we are inside there. Now it is returning ABC 1 to 3. The ABC 1 to 3 is returning into here. That's the result. So let's print it here too. Print result. Fair enough. But the truth of the matter is returning also the result. Okay? You will see in a second it does it. That's pretty cool. Now you will see the power of that kind of architecture. Let's do a test. That's the link. And see, this is the results. Okay, and the results, it's ABC 1, 2, 3. You got it? That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So you will see the whole process now. Okay, let's see the whole process. We're starting from here. We're calling, here we go, we added the button. Okay? We transfer a dictionary, is that right?
Yes.
By the way, inside the dictionary, you don't really have to have all of that. You can put everything in the dictionary. How can you do everything in the dictionary? You just can't really do it this way. I just thought about it. You can do fun, right, equal to that. Am I right?
Yes.
And then I can write object. I think this will be better. I like that better. Okay? And then I have whatever variables that I want. I can put as many variables as I want. Okay? You can even call it vars, or params. Many times it's called that way. And inside that params, you make it a dictionary. Got it? Let's do it, try it that way. Very cool, it would be very cool. Okay, now we don't really need all of that. We don't need that, we'll change it slightly. That's pretty cool, that's nice, that's cleaner. Okay,
Yeah.
now this one will go to this function eventually. This time, only we have this one, right? We don't need those two. Am I right?
Yeah.
So we need to get now the fun. What fun will be equal to? Dick underscore. And what do we want to get from here? Fun, isn't it? That's what we call it. We will have to standardize it. Yeah, the fun, okay? And then they have the object. Same things. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it should be okay now. But I like to put underscore here all the time. It makes me happier, although it's not necessary.
Doctor, out of the param, the variable param.
Hold a second. Yeah, the palms. This is going to be here, right?
Yes.
Palms, we call that. Let's call that one param. That will be a dictionary, in fact. Right?
Yeah.
How did I call it? Palms. Fair enough. So the
Yeah.
palms will be, so I'm transferring really a whole dictionary to there. This one is exactly the same, isn't it? It's much
Yes.
more elegant. The palms will go there, it will go there, and then we'll get the S, we'll activate, get the result. Let's try it now again. This time, we transfer the palms. The palms will get into the function. What is the function of the class? The class. Here we go. The class add advanced tabs. That's what will be add. Let's write params here. What do you say? Fair enough?
Yeah.
I think this is really make more sense to call it params. Let's print it here.
So, Doctor,
Yeah?
that part where I don't know why you had to place it maybe inside the parentheses in the function.
Well, here,
I mean on the function, the activate function.
so
Yeah,
I'm calling it is expecting one variable. This function is expecting one variable. The self is for the self, but this is the parameter is expecting. Got it?
yes.
So this is pretty cool. Now let's run it again and see what happens. And let's go into here again, refresh, test. Got that one. I got an error. We'll see what the error is. Let's go to the beginning first. It doesn't like us at all. It didn't go into anywhere. What does it say? Tick, file. String indices must be integers. I think I know what it is. The question is, where does it happen? Why don't we have fun? What happened to the function? We got a dictionary. Ah, I know why. That's a trick. You will laugh at that. Dick underscore. You can use JSON dumps. Hold a second, maybe I have it here. I can use it to, you can use also this one, it would work. See, for him, it's a string, it's not a dictionary. This is not really a dictionary, this is a string. And you have to turn it to a dictionary in Python. You got it? We got it as a string of a dictionary. If you noticed, when we did it here, we stringified it. So it's a string. You got it? It's not a dictionary. It gets to the view. It gets here as a string. So you cannot use that one. It's not a dictionary. So you do eval, it turns it to a dictionary. Okay?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Believe me, it took me a long time to figure out all of that stuff. Okay. Bingo, it works. Now let's see what happens. Let's go step by step. Okay? Whole process. So we got to first place. What do we get first? We get to here. Advanced steps.add, and we transfer the parameters, correct?
Yeah.
So that's one is right in here, this line. Got it?
Yes.
And then the result, the eval, calling that function. So we're going into the function, the add button. So we go to the add button inside that object. Add buttons got this parameter and is printing them. What did we transfer? Amos 50, is that right?
Yeah.
That was the parameters. Then we just type something stupid. Let's take that one out. Okay. Now, just to know that we are in the add. And then we returning the ABC 1, 2, 3. So that means we're getting back from this eval the 1, 2, 3 inside the result, and we're printing it. So we are printing the ABC 1, 2, 3. That's pretty cool. You got it?
Yes.
How can we use it? Why did I do all this trouble? Why did I go through all this trouble? Okay. Let's go back to here. How about we would have add button. Let's leave that one for now and change those two buttons. Take these buttons, do it again, but different way. Okay, let's do it again. This time, I create a button, delete, and then I have a function. So far, so good. Now, we have this one that's okay. We want this one, it's okay. It's the same things. This is the part that I want to change. Okay? I want to use the same link. Got it? I want to use the same link. But I want to use, what is the delete link? What is the delete link? What is the delete link? Delete link. It's really a function delete tab. Is that right?
Yeah.
So let's go back and go here. And we're going to be taking that one away.
Excuse me, doctor.
Hmm?
Yeah, Brenda said that the time has already reached.
Oh, you have a class now, don't you? Now or it's 5, you're supposed to start, don't you?
Yeah, at 5. Yeah.
Okay. The most exciting part, isn't it? Okay, in a second. We're getting there. I'll give it in 1 second. I'm just copying this one. You see that, Daniel?
Yes, doctor.
And putting it here. And this is going to be the function. Is that right? In 2 minutes, Brenda, promise. So people can. So this is going to be the function. I don't really have to transfer any variables if I don't have to, unless I need to. Is that right? We'll see if we need variables. We'll keep it the same object because we want the same object. Okay? Now that we're using the same things here, we want to use the same things here. In fact, the whole thing's here. We want to use, okay, we'll use that one. That will be here. Hey, tab name maybe, that will be important. What was there? Control Z, Control V. So we'll take tab name. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that will be here. Is that right, Daniel?
Yes, doctor.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? Now, what happened is that you don't need to have hundreds of functions. Tab name is right from here. So this is good because there's a parameters. We go to these functions into this object. So what we're going to do later, we'll leave it and let Brenda work. We got all of that stuff. And we would get that one, later one, okay? And we deal with it the same things. But this one, what we will need to do is in the view, take the delete function. What is the delete tab? See that delete tab? That's the way we call it. We'll make it a function. Got it?
Yeah.
All of them will look the same now. I will continue later on. Let's bind up work. Okay? We'll continue later on or tomorrow. I don't know. If you have power after the class. You need to help her, yeah, Daniel? And you need to know her stuff as well. So I'm going to shut this one off and opening her stuff. Brenda, I will open certificate 2 link, okay? She doesn't pay attention. What?
I'm using my earphone. She can't hear.
Yeah, she already sent the link. So let me, the certificate 2, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, let me have the same link. I just want to make sure that she get it. You're doing it Thursday and Mondays, is that right?
Doctor, you mean the session?
Yeah, I just want to fix it so it will be all the time. So it will be already set up every Monday and Tuesday, Thursdays.
Yeah, it's Monday and Thursday.
Exactly. So, okay, I will leave it this way. This is good. And this is good. I'm saving it. And you have the link, don't you? I will send it to you again. Wanda, I'm gonna send you the link again. To whom am I sending it? Yeah, that's the link. And I send it into Academy City, okay?
Yeah, I've seen
And
it.
I'm gonna start reading.